everyone this morning. We'll ask that you all stand and we'll have a prayer and pledge of allegiance. Father, Lord, it's once again we come together, Lord, just thanking you for being able to see another day and all your blessings that you bestow upon us. We thank you, Lord, for our nation, our state, Lord, and our democratic process of government. We ask now, Lord, that you be with us and give us wisdom and understanding, that we'll do things in the right order and be a blessing to those we serve. We thank and praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we will call our February 6th Board of County Commissioners meeting to order. And at this time, we will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented, unless there are some changes. And we have no changes at this time, so.
This is not Highway 13, it's just Highway 158.
Okay. We do have one modification. Under item 5, it states that Michelle James, North Carolina Department of Transportation, Highway 13/158 widening project update. That will be Highway 158, not 13. All right, if there are no other corrections or modifications, we entertain a motion to accept the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been properly a motion and second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, we have before us our January 2nd and January 23rd Board of Commissioners meeting minutes. Are there any corrections?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
on the first page, I think at the bottom where it says something about Chuck Brothers, I think it was Your Baptist Church, not Your Christian
That's
Church.
correct.
Also on page 1204, for the record, under old business, the last paragraph, it should be Deputy Jordan instead of Deputy Reynolds, where Commissioner Hora made a recommendation. The written recommendation provided that Sheriff Webb requesting additional funding for Deputy Jordan instead of Reynolds. Also on the January 23rd, page 1212, I want to make that Mrs. Lassiter. In the bottom of 1212, Commissioner Hora made a motion to exit public hearing instead of closed session. All right. Are there any other corrections? All right, there are no other corrections to the January 2nd and January 23rd Commissioner minutes. We'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as corrected.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been motioned, properly second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right. Next order of business will be our citizens' comments. And we have signed up Mrs. Esther Lassiter. Good morning.
Mr. Chairman, board members, our county manager, and to others, good morning. My name is Esther Lassiter, and I stand before you today representing the Gates Partners for Health which is still a state-certified component. We consist of local agencies and concerned citizens, and our purpose is to help improve the health and quality of life here in Gates County. You have before you the Gates County 2012 State of the County Health Report. This is a report that is required by the state. On each year, we do not conduct a community health assessment. In 2012, there was no community health assessment. However, we did start the process for 2013. Our health priorities as identified in the community health assessment consist of obesity, chronic disease management, prevention, early detection, access to health care. If you notice Gates County at a glance in the center of the page, I want to focus on two areas: leading causes of death. The number one leading cause of death in Gates County is cancer. If you notice the county rate, the average between 2006 and 2010, that figure has increased for 2010. And when you compare it with the state rate in 2010, look at the higher percentage that we have here in Gates County. And I'm sure all of you in the sound of my voice know of people who are either in submission from cancer or going through cancer. So that is a very big concern for the citizens here in Gates County. The other is heart disease. Although our rate appears to be lower than the state in 2010, it is still the second highest leading cause of death here in Gates County. And we do have things in place to address both of these. If you look on the back side of the report, we simply here address the different things that we have been doing in 12 months to address those concerns, the priority areas from our community health assessment. Dealing with obesity, we have in place the Gates County Farmers Market. We have successfully completed 2 years. According to the state, if we were able to close out the first year of the farmers market and reopen the second year, we could consider ourselves a success. However, we still need the support of the citizens to support our farmers who are coming out each Saturday morning. We have in place for a few years now the walk-in challenge. We have one with the faith-based community, and we also have one dealing with the employees of the school system. One of our new initiatives in the county is as a result of the partnership between Rescue and EMS. We have partnered together, and we're looking at a heart-healthy community, since that is one of our major concerns of the leading cause of death. Through this initiative, we have been able to place AEDs in all of the volunteer fire departments and in 2 of the schools, Central and Gates County High, as a result of grant writing. And we're very fortunate that Vidant Roanoke Chowan Hospital Foundation funded those AEDs. Since this report has been submitted back in December of 2012, we also have received funding from the Roanoke Electric Care Trust. They have provided us with an AED, and that was placed at Buckland Elementary School. And as of 2 weeks ago, we're pleased to say that another grant was submitted to Roanoke Electric Trust, and we have received full funding for 2 additional AEDs. Therefore, we will have an AED located at each of our public schools. That last funding, we want to pay special tribute to our former county commissioner, Graham Twine, who really stood up and supported our grant efforts. We are partnering with our North Carolina Cooperative Extension Services to provide educational programs, and one of those programs is conducted by our Cooperative Extension agent, HEMCamp. And we will continue to partner with her and with the Extension Office and other educational areas to focus in on our heart healthy community. One of the things that we're doing, you'll notice over under chronic disease management, would be Living Healthy. Living Healthy is a 6-week program. It is offered 2.5 hours per week for 6 weeks, and it is a program open to any group in Gates County who would like to participate. It's a very intense program, but what it does, its goal is to improve the participants' confidence in managing their chronic disease. This is at no cost. There are items that you will receive in this program. We conducted 4 classes last year, and the program is highly successful. We have five trained lay leaders that teach the class, and they were recertified in December. We continue to have our cancer support group, which is another concern here in Gates County with the death rate. Our cancer support group has increased by 50%. We average now about 15 members each month. We meet on the second Monday of each month at 4:30 at the Visitor Center at the Merchants Mill Pond State Park. We have visitors or speakers, professionals who come in and teach various aspects related to cancer. So we invite you to be a participant of that also. Diabetes Day, we held one last year. We are scheduled to have a second one on March the 23rd. That event will be held at the Merchants Mill Pond Visitor Center. You will be receiving publications about that. We do continue to support prevention and early detection through our access to health care. We know that our Gateway Community Health Center Incorporated has completed 1 full year and successfully completed the federal inspections. We are very pleased. They are averaging about 40 patients per day. That is a lot for one physician. We also have our dental services that are in place. And of course, if you take a look, those hours are provided. As of October, her patient load was over 1,500. So we see that there is a need for these areas in Gates County. Emerging issues, as I said, this report had to be into the state on December the 1st. At that time, we were classified as Tier 2. Before the ink could dry on the report, we got an announcement that we are back to Tier 1. And that's wonderful because there are a lot of grant applications out that will not address us unless we are Tier 1. So this opens up the possibility for additional grant opportunities for Gates County. Another concern that we have, the percentage that we have of uninsured population in the adult category between the ages of 19 and 64 is 25.2%. Now, this percentage places Gates County in the top 25 counties of North Carolina with the ranking of high and uninsured citizens. We need help here. The lack of additional physicians is difficult, and it does place a burden on the uninsured and the underinsured. We have to realize that our county is increasing in population, and we need services to look after the health needs of individuals. Our CEO of Gateway Community Health Center, Carolyn Allison, did announce to us last week that there is an advertisement out for a full-time physician. So any of you who have connections outside of Gates County and you know of physicians, we're looking for a physician with at least 5 years of experience. But let them know that we are a tight-knit community, a loving community, and if they come aboard, they do not have to worry about certain insurances that they will have to cover on their own because this is federally supported. And it also helps to pay off those student loans that they may still be attached to. So we ask you to put that plug out in the various areas to help us to acquire a good qualified physician. Are there any questions or comments?
Thank you very much. It's a very informative report, and certainly, hopefully, we'll get the position that we need for Gates County.
Thank you.
Any comments, board? All right, we thank you so much.
And there are some additional reports here, and you will see them throughout the county in public places.
All right. Thank you much. All right, our next item on the agenda will be our department reports. We have, as our first report, will come from our county manager. This is somewhat of a change, and it's been requested also by some of our citizens. And John, we're going to turn it over to you now to give us an update on those things that you want to make the board aware of.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Members of the board, it's my pleasure to give you my first monthly report. There are several things I want to go over with you briefly. The first is the administrative items. We transitioned successfully, I think, from Mr. Winley to myself. I've undertaken a summary review of departments and agencies and conducted a great deal of meetings and reviews both with the public and with our departments and agencies. We have a great county here, and I look forward to working with everyone. Everyone's been very welcoming and very nice, and I appreciate that very much, both from the staff and from the public. I have worked with the clerk to look at reviewing the agenda, and we are looking at some additional practices to smooth the agenda process and have begun preliminary discussions on a collaborative process to bring further information to you, greater transparency, and to allow you a little bit more deliberative process in the board meetings. Met with the Albemarle Regional Commission and the Landfill Authority. Look forward to meeting with the Northeast Commission and to make sure that we have Gates County in the forefront of our leaders at the region, at the state. And that's very important that folks recognize that Gates County has needs and that we are working diligently to address those needs. Operationally, the departments have been met with and continue to work with them. There are a couple of operational issues with the budget that is attached to this memo. Would like for you to look at the draft budget schedule and consider the proposed dates for some meetings that are work sessions and open to the public to allow a little bit more input and back and forth to make the budget process more collaborative in scope and nature. There's also a proposal attached to this memo regarding the agenda review process. I want y'all to look that over too, and at your pleasure, we'd like to adjust the way that we do some of our departmental reports. I want to give you an update as well on three capital projects that are ongoing. One's phased out, as you're aware, and the other is the library project. And I'll talk about the library project first. The library project is substantially complete. There are about 25 items that the building inspector has identified that need to be addressed. The contractor is aware of those items and is looking forward to addressing those. They range from ADA issues to some fit and finish work, grouting and that sort of thing around some drains, fireproofing of the penetrations and some firewalls. So that has been submitted to the contractor to review, and he's working on that. The project is on scope, it is substantially complete, it appears to be on schedule, and we're moving into the finalization of the move-in process and the opening. We don't have a date for a grand opening yet, as we need to look at these items that the building inspector has identified. The furniture is on schedule to be moved in next week, and that should be a very good process to identify the minor things that we need to adjust. Budget summary has been attached. Per the budget, there is a slight overage, and there is a memo that addresses how that overage we anticipate to deal with, and we want to bring that to your attention and for your review as well. On the sanitary sewer project, the project is also substantially complete on phase 1 of that project. There are some I&I issues. I&I means inflow and infiltration, and a calibration issue that needs to be worked out, but the closeout is very close and is pending. Again, that scope is on scope. It is complete substantially. It is on schedule, and the budget summary has been attached as well. Phase 2 of that project, we are looking at spray field owners, and we have undertaken a meeting with one of those owners. That meeting did not bear fruit. We are identifying other owners, and want to talk with you about that as a matter of trying to identify owners for spray fields for the expansion of that wastewater treatment plant. If you would turn to the next page, you will see a schedule for the budget creation for 2012-2013. This was used to create the existing budget we're under. It's a good schedule. However, there's a proposed schedule attached, and it anticipates a little bit more of a collaborative process, and that's on the next page. And at the pleasure of the board, I'd like for you to consider a budget retreat that we could talk about some of these issues and your expectations on the way the budget needs to be formulated, your goals for the year, and the goals for staff that we need to be looking forward to accomplishing. So I submit that for your review, and be happy to answer any questions on that.
Do you have any idea of where the retreat would be? Be just here?
I've thought about that, Mr. Chairman. I'm very open to your input. We've got some fine facilities the county has. The state has provided us with a fine state park that offers a lot of parking and that sort of thing. It would, of course, be open to the public. The work session would be, and we would have to make that allowance. However, we need to be able to talk frankly and to look at the things that we need to look at. So either location would work. It would be subject to the board's pleasure on that. That item for the board's information is Commissioner's Budget Retreat number 4. And there are some proposed dates, February 23rd or March 2nd or March 9th, approximately half a day.
John, I'd like to, I think that out at the Mill Pond where they have the projector on screen for us, putting that up on screen would save us some paper, maybe, and on the first pass, and that would probably be most beneficial, I would think, from the standpoint of efficiency-wise.
Are there consensus, or is there consensus on a particular date that we can contact the Mill Pond, and perhaps a backup date?
The, what days of the week are those two that you have listed?
These are Saturdays.
Saturdays?
Yes, sir.
23rd, 2nd, and 9th, are all Saturdays?
Yes, sir.
You talking about the 2nd and the 9th, right? Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Mhm.
Not all three of those. Those are just proposed. We just need
Right.
one, I believe.
That's fine
All
with
right.
me.
23rd is not a good day for me. Possibly the 2nd or the 9th would be.
I could do either March date.
Either date in March will be fine.
Either date in March would be fine for me also.
You want to give us an email which date you set out?
Yes, sir. I will contact the state park and reserve that room and get you a date on that. Proceeding down the schedule, you'll notice it's a little bit more involved than the previous one. There's some other dates, and we can look at maybe talking about those at the budget retreat and setting those, or you're certainly welcome to consider them now.
On March 15th, I'm out of pocket.
Okay.
14, 15, 16, and 17.
Mr. Chairman, I'll proceed with the remainder of this report for you. We talked a little bit about agenda collaboration with the clerk, with Mrs. Hendricks. I'm going to look to provide you a little bit more information under departmental reports, starting with my report on a monthly basis, the first meeting of the month. It'll be in the day meeting. And to also look at giving you a little bit more insight into departmental operations for each department. That way you can see a better and clearer picture of what is going on with the departments that report to you, and we'll also open that up for the agencies, the outside agencies, and the officers that are directly elected to provide their information, to give you a little bit more idea of the work that goes on and to ask questions and to address issues that come up. Also, we've been doing a FYI item, and you'll notice this FYI item in this agenda is more substantial than the previous. Look forward to giving you a little bit more insight in the correspondence that we receive, just as an FYI item, that may give you a little bit more in-depth as to what we're dealing with locally, and to make sure that you're aware of citizens' concerns as we receive them and what we do to address those concerns as well. And then there'll, of course, always be that item of interest, FYI item. And also look forward to presenting to you on a monthly basis a county calendar that gives you an idea of some of the meetings that we have going on, and that would be for the public so they'll know, and for you as well. So at your pleasure, I'd like for you to consider these changes to the agenda and make any adjustments that you see fit, and give us a little bit of staff direction if this is what you're looking for, or if we need to make some minor alterations or major overhauls to it.
All right. Okay. Thank you, John. It looks like the changes are constructive and needed. Certainly, I would say let's move forward with them. Board, any comments?
Sounds good to me.
All right. All right. Well, we thank you for the report. Our next item on the agenda will be our budget amendments. Finance Director Sandy Pittman.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I only have 2 amendments this month, and both of them deal with grants through our Extension Department. The first amendment, number 32, is actually a reduction in the grant amount for the funders. The revenue and expenditures have both been reduced by $575. This was for a 4-H Envision grant, and I don't see Reba here to elaborate on which grant that was. Number 33 is a new grant that Reba has received. It's the Cycle for Life grant, and I believe she told me this grant is to purchase bicycles. She had gotten a grant to replace some helmets that we had out at the community center, and this grant is to replace and add some new bicycles as well. And that's all I have.
All right. How many bicycles does she anticipate purchasing?
You know, I don't know.
Sounds like quite a few.
Yeah, generally she's here. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'd have to dig back through a little bit more of the paperwork.
Sandy, on the first one, number 32,
Yes, sir?
is that a little unusual? That says it was revised by the funders?
It is. She had applied for the grant and had received the grant, and when she turned in her budget, apparently one of the items that she had submitted was rejected. Honestly, this is the first time I've ever seen that. I don't know if it's a different grant we've not dealt with in the past. She'd have to give you a little more information, but apparently something that was in her budget was rejected, and rather than allow her to reallocate, they just reduced the funding amount.
Okay. I hope that money wasn't already spent.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good. In fact, that was a grant, this grant was just received within the last couple of months. It's a fairly new
Okay.
grant.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, no other comments or discussion? We'll entertain a motion to accept the budget amendments as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you all.
The next item on our agenda will be our tax collector's report. Ms. Renee McGinnis.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You have your collector's report in your packet. Really nothing out of the ordinary to report with that. One thing you will notice is that the 2012 taxes have been moved underneath the delinquent taxes. They are now, and as of January the 8th, did become delinquent. As far as our percentages, we right now are about 2% above where we were last year this time, which I think one thing that has helped us a lot with that has been working with Zacchaeus Legal Services. I think some people are starting to listen to us a little bit better when we say we're going to turn the bills over for foreclosure. Do y'all have any questions in reference to this report? If not,
Just one. How many accounts do we still have with Travis Ellis? Are you aware of that?
I believe it's around 20 or 25 that we still have with him.
No activity or?
Well, we have, if you'll notice down near the bottom of your report, in January, we did receive $1,750 from him. We're getting a little bit from him, still not moving as fast as we would like to with some of the accounts he's had.
Is he aware that we're using this other service? He is.
Yes.
Renee, didn't I read somewhere this past week that they're gonna start putting our car taxes and stuff on our regular tax? Is that correct?
Your title and tax.
Your title and tax stuff?
Okay, we do as of the July 2013 renewals on motor vehicles, taxes on those vehicles will be included with your registration. And at that point is when taxes will be paid to DMV when you go to renew your plates.
Okay.
That will start with the July 2013 renewals. And we have already, everything is pretty much in place. In fact, this month we will start the training with the new software that we will be working with, the combined system. And we will actually start working with that software in the March-April timeframe because we will have to prepare the July renewals to go to DMV in time for taxpayers to get those. They're calling it an invitation to renew is what they're calling this.
Thank you.
Anytime. But anyway, we will have to get that back to them in the April and May timeframe so that those renewal notices can get to the taxpayers. And so we actually will have several months there that we will be working with both the old system and the new system. Because basically what this program will do is instead of the information coming to us after someone renews their plates and we bill after that renewal, the billing will take place before the renewal. So the taxes will be paid on the front side instead of the back side. So like I say, there'll be several months that we will actually be working with both systems to make that happen. And we did receive an email yesterday with copies of flyers and brochures, which we had sent out a question and answer flyer with our listing abstracts this year that everyone received. But I think what I'm going to do, they also have some rack cards that we can order, so I think we're going to probably order some of those to put some in the rack out here in the courthouse and also in the rack that's in our building. The taxpayers can pick up, which we're already having taxpayers come in wanting to know if they're supposed to pay their vehicle taxes to us or to DMV at this point. Any other questions?
Thank you.
So when is our publishing date? And are we on the 10-year, we going to publish in 10 years again?
That will be the next thing we'll talk about.
Oh, okay.
Are there any other questions in reference to the collector's report?
All right.
Okay, the next item is in reference to the taxes that are unpaid, the 2012 tax liens on real property. That amount is $568,220.16. That is the amount that will be advertised. And at this point, what I need for y'all to do is to pass that order to me to advertise those tax liens. The last couple of years, you have advertised the current tax liens and any prior taxes owing. And I need to know if you want to do that as well this year.
Can you state for us specifically what we did last year? It was.
Last year, if someone owed 2012 taxes, and then they also owed, say, 5 years back, we listed the 2012 and those 5 years.
Two separate items, two separate entries on that individual's name?
Right.
Okay.
We had each year listed separately.
Okay. And to John's statement, Commissioner Horn.
It was 10 years.
It was a 10-year time frame.
Well, our limitation runs out in 10 years to enforce collections, so it would only go to 10 years.
All right, we need a motion to direct the tax collector to publish the delinquent taxes for 2012 and previous years. What date is that, March?
The first date that we can advertise them is March the 1st, and we will do that as soon as we can after that date.
On March 1st or as soon as possible thereafter.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we instruct our tax collector to do as you stated, if I may use your comments in my motion. Ordered?
Ordered.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Not instructed, but ordered.
Not a start. Mr. Chairman, I amend my motion to say that we order the tax collector to run that report on the taxes,
Delinquent taxes.
delinquent taxes.
All right. And the additional
As
years.
stated, additional years as stated.
Okay. All right, we have a motion on the floor to direct and order the tax collector to collect delinquent taxes. We have a second.
Second.
All right, it's been second and motion properly second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Renee, let me ask you one question. What's the difference between the 568 and the 661? on the-
Just the dates that I pulled the figures.
So we've actually made
Well,
a,
one is as of February 1st, the other is of January 31st with
So
our
then-
month-end closing.
so we made a $103,000 improvement. Okay.
Couple of things.
Excuse me, just for the record of the minutes, would you please provide the tax clerk the general statute number that directs the commissioners to give you that order?
That is on the report that was given to you. It's 105-369A.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I see it. Okay. That's why it is.
Anything else?
All right, that should do it.
Okay. A couple of things I do want to mention to you is that we are getting ready to send Zacchaeus, I believe, about 15 more accounts that we have gone through this month that have not kept up payment arrangements and that sort of thing. So we do have a few more accounts that are getting ready to go to him. And also, are getting ready to gear up to do some business audits. And what we will be looking at right now is businesses that we have that are listing a personal property amount between the $25,000 and $100,000 tax dollar range. So if you have anyone that has any, comes to you and has any questions in reference to that, we will be starting that again. And to let you know also, at the next meeting, we don't have to do this today, but we do need to talk about a date of setting for our Board of Equalization and Review for this year. And since this is a non-revow year, we cannot open it earlier than the first Monday in April or later than the first Monday in May. So anytime in that time frame, we can open the Board of E&R. However, we will have to close it within a 3-week time period since it's a non-revaluation year. And in looking at your calendars for that date, the only thing I do want to let you know is the week of April the 15th through the 19th, I will be at the Collectors Conference in Greenville. I was fortunate enough to be put on the program committee for that conference, so unfortunately that puts me there dealing with the conference all week. So just to let you know that I will be out of pocket that week.
Renee, this is something we talked about before. Well, there's a couple of things here. That's our electronic payments on our water stuff. Where are we at on that? We doing anything? And the other thing, I'd like for you to send me those files of the payment dates so I can put it in those graphical things to see what the impact of the, the staggered billing thing is. Where we had the pyramid style.
With the electronic banking, right now we are in the process of upgrading that utility software, and I believe that is scheduled to probably take place, our upgrade is sometime in April. And so what we're doing is just kind of holding off till that upgrade is in place to see where we need to go from there as to what needs to be put in place that we can go on with the e-banking.
And so that'll be the automatic, almost like the debit card situation then, right? As far as a person's account?
If someone goes online and pays through their online banking, we should have that payment the next day. Is my understanding. Whereas as it is now, if someone goes to their online bank and pays us, the bank has to write a check and physically put that check in the mail and mail it to us.
Okay.
So, which has messed up a few of our clients.
Right.
So, and if you will give me, if you don't mind sending me an email in reference, because I think we've done this before, but just jog my memory as to the dates and whatnot that we worked with.
Well, I just want to do it since the time frame of when we started too, because I've got all of those previous records where I got those.
Just jog my memory as to
I'll
the
do it.
exact dates and whatnot that we used. Is there any other questions, or? If not, I thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Okay, I believe you might have something else.
Yes, I do.
Yes,
Sorry about that. Ms. Harrell is going to go over the refunds with you now.
all right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
The next items in your packet from the tax office will be 10 refund requests we're presenting for your review this morning. The first request is in the amount of $257.28. This was a buyer and seller transaction, and the taxes were paid by both, and we need to refund one. The next one in the amount of $258.44. That was an overpayment of a motor vehicle bill, and why we got that size bill, I have no explanation for. He had no other taxes, and we need to refund those funds to him. The next one in the amount of $124.02. The bill was paid by both owners of this property. It's a co-owned property. The next one, 1,434.67, the mortgage company and the taxpayer also paid the taxes. I wrote a letter to the taxpayers, and they did request that they get their money refunded and not a prepay for 2013.
And the code FO2 there?
That is the fire fee
Okay.
that was included. The next amount of $283.87 was a payment, as you see, from the bankruptcy attorney, but the mortgage company had already paid those taxes.
You, what area of the county was that property in?
Sir,
Do you know what area of the county that property was in?
I do not have that address on my information. I'll be glad to send that to you.
If you will, please.
I will. The next request is $284.59, and this amount was released actually on the tax bill because we did not include the elderly and disabled exclusion that had been approved for that account. So we just need to refund that taxpayer that portion of their taxes. The next request is $243.84, and the taxpayer actually paid, I have here that they paid the taxes twice, but they paid it in one sum, and it was double the amount of the taxes. So we just need to send half of that back to them. They have no other taxes due with us.
That's what it
They
sounds like.
automatically doubled their,
It was just doubled. I don't know why, so.
They couldn't find the receipt last year, so they did that.
The next request for $1,038.28. The taxpayer had previously paid, actually part of that, then in a transaction where part of this property was sold, the attorney's office paid the taxes. And after that fact, the owners came back in, the sellers, and paid the balance of the taxes. So we've got to make a refund there for the total tax amount. The next request for $699.45, as you'll see, is for 2011 and 2012. We double listed that, the taxpayer's home that was on that property for those years, and he had paid those when it came to our attention that that had happened, so we need to refund this taxpayer. We did discuss with him doing a prepay for 2013. However, this year he is applying for the elderly and disabled exemption, so he wanted his refund, and then he would pay whatever difference he has to pay for 2013. And the last one is in the amount of $695.21. This taxpayer's home burned, as you'll see on the attached from Mr. Wynn, in around December 31st, 2010. And the gentleman paid his taxes, including the home on the property, in 2011. And we're releasing, we would like to refund that amount back to him.
at the top, it says, refund payable $167.35, Gates County Tax Department, and the taxpayer, $527.86.
Yes, sir. The $167.35 is the amount due for 2012 on that property for the land only. So he has asked us just to credit that to his 2012 bill, and then he will be refunded the difference.
527 or,
The 527.86. The total refund was the 695.21, and at the top is the way it will be split by paying his 2012 bill on the land only, and then the balance of that to be paid to the taxpayer.
okay, so we're approving 527.86.
Yes, sir, actually, because we are keeping the 167.35 to be credited to an account. Any other questions?
All right. Are there any comments on the tax refunds?
Mr. Chairman, it's a good explanation, and I make a motion that we approve the refunds as presented.
Second.
All right, it's been motion second that we approve the refunds as submitted. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, the next item on our agenda will be our GITS Director, Ms. Patrice Lassiter.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am requesting to surplus 2006 Ford Champion Body 25-foot LTV. The vehicle has met its life expectancy and has been replaced.
All right. Where are we? We putting this on Gov Deals? Oh, okay, I see it here. It's going to be auction on Gov Deals.
Yes.
Do we specify amount on Gov Deals, or
You can ask for a minimum.
is it minimum amount, or is?
think.
Okay, so the minimum bid will be 5,407?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we have a request for disposing of a vehicle of the county on Gov Deals. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we place this vehicle on Gov Deals and start the bidding at $5,550.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
It's been motioned properly second that we authorize the disposal of this vehicle at a minimum bid of $5,550. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. All right.
The next thing that I'm up here to present is the policy and procedure for vehicle video and audio surveillance systems. The state received an R grant, and all the transportation systems in the state of North Carolina are getting cameras or surveillance videos on the vehicles. And we have them currently on our vehicles, and so we were trying to set this policy as to how we would allow them to be used.
There again, that's going to be select vehicles or all vehicles?
All vehicles.
All vehicles.
And all vehicles are going to have cameras, are all going to be active,
They'll all be active, yeah. All revenue-based vehicles will have active cameras.
and will be monitored from the office out here?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, you have before you a policy. Hopefully everyone has looked it over, that we will be implementing on the county transportation system. What is the pleasure of the board in accepting this policy for implementation?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask Patrice one more
Certainly.
question. Is this policy a state policy that was sent to you, or is this something that you yourself has put together?
It wasn't sent from the state, but it was sent from the company that put the cameras,
Right.
installed the cameras,
So it's just sort of a standard policy that everybody's using?
pretty much.
Okay.
The only things are, how the use of, for which the information is collected could
Right.
vary from system to system. Well, any of it could vary, but that's the only difference, I guess.
So Patrice, you're saying that this is, on the DVR, which would be the recording device, and some of these that I've used before, but in this particular case, with the Wi-Fi capability, you're gonna have on screen inside the GITS building, right? To
Yes.
monitor these. Do we have GPS on any GPS devices too that does that same thing?
You would be able to tell some of the vicinity that the vehicle is traveling in, yes,
Okay.
and the location.
But we don't have specific track data on the vehicles.
In certain areas of the county, you can tell, it'll tell you exactly where it is, and then there's certain places that it's
Right,
not
yeah,
picking
depending
up.
on, yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
Right.
I want to make you aware of silentpartner.com
Okay.
is a source for tracking vehicles, if you want to look into that. The other thing I'd like to ask the county manager's advice, this is a new document, something that we're adopting, so I think it would be smart to probably have something set up for a review time, because we're looking at this and now we're going to put it in practice. And we can get the bugs out early, maybe if we review it in 6 months. If you think that's enough time, you have any recommendations?
Yes, sir, Commissioner Owens, I think that is a good idea, to look at it, see how it's working, make sure that we have all the appropriate safeguards. I don't think that would be a burden on staff. We'll just put a notice in our calendars to bring it back before you with any changes that need be, or generally a report on how it's working, and say 6 months, which would be the August agenda. Would that be appropriate?
That'd be great.
Okay.
How about legal counsel? Do they need to look at it also?
To my knowledge, legal counsel has not looked at this document. Patrice, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Not
this
all
was a
legal.
staff-initiated, staff-reviewed. We tried balancing privacy concerns with also the safety concerns of things that go on in society today, all sorts of ridership safety as well as safety of the drivers, which are our employees. So we did try that balancing act, but it has not been reviewed by legal counsel, no, sir.
I'd like to recommend that it be also seen by legal counsel.
All right.
Mr.
Do we want,
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion on this topic. That's what you're looking for.
well, do we want to move forward with a motion, or do we want to table it? But we will hear the motion, and we'll see where we want to go with it. Wanna make a motion?
Commissioner Jernigan has something that sort of,
Patrice, is there a timetable on this that you need to have this in or approved by?
The only thing is that the cameras are operative at this point.
Okay.
I have not been reviewing them, but they're up there and they're active. So it's kind of,
Well, basically, what this thing's saying is, and I guess these are motion detected, of course, is that you really are in based on this records management, in a 35-day window here. Because what happens unless you do archive them or put them on back them off of that server off of the operating hard drive in the DVR to a server, you don't really have that history. What is the plan to keep that history, or just let it, because what that happens when it gets to the end of the tape, it starts overwriting those things. So, and you can, and if I'm trying to remember the ones that I've used at IP, but I think once it starts overwriting that I can't go, I don't think I could go to the back of the tape, because I think it did a complete erase of that and started, but I'm not 100% sure if I can remember.
it maintains up to those days, so it takes the older ones off. So
So when is,
it doesn't record over, but it can only hold so many days. So say if it was, this was January the 31st,
Right,
January
but-
the 1st would be the earliest.
but what I'm saying, Patrice, is not like a digital file there. I think if because you got to create that file spaces that's constantly doing it, I think it completely erases that you.
That's off.
In other words, if I got 1 through 35 days, when it gets to the 36th day, 1 through 35 is gone.
No, just
It's not on
one
these.
is gone.
Okay.
Just
all right.
day one, it maintains the second through the
Okay.
36 or whatever.
All right, I think what we want to do is, we probably want to entertain a motion to adopt the policy to cover current use of the vehicle video audio surveillance system pending review by legal counsel. So that way, we'll have a policy in place that currently covers us, but if there's some legal issues that is not acceptable in this document, then our legal counsel can make us aware of that, and we can make those corrections at that time.
Okay. All right. Mr. Chairman, it being about a 5-page document, I would think that legal counsel could get back to us at our next meeting. So with that in mind, I would move that we accept this document as printed and to be heard from legal counsel at our next meeting. It's a motion.
Second.
All right, it's been motioned and properly second that we adopt the policy as is written currently, pending legal counsel's comments at our next meeting. Are there any discussions before we go to the vote? Further discussion?
Are we still going to have the review at the end of 6 months?
With a review, with a review from the county manager in the 6 months, yes. All right, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda will be our planning director, Mr. Morgan Jethro.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
First thing we have on our agenda is a rezoning request for Mr. J.E. Harrell. There are 3 parcels in total. 2 are zoned A1, 1 is currently zoned R1. He would like to have them all rezoned to RMH. And the planning board did unanimously approve that rezoning.
One question before we go into public hearing. Are these requests a result of the moratorium?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Is there any reason why we didn't do them all at one time?
Because I got about total 15 to make it easy on the planning board so they can continue on with their regular duties. I broke them into groups of 3 by the date they were received. We will have one more group coming up, and that will be the end of the moratorium requests.
All right, thank you. All right, this is a public hearing requirement, and if there are no preliminary discussions from the commissioners, we'll entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
So move.
Second.
All right, it's been motion second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. We're in public hearing for the rezoning request by Mr. J.E. Harrell, 2 parcels of land from A1 and 1 parcel R1 to be rezoned RMH1. Are there any discussions? All right, hearing none, we'll entertain a motion to come out of public hearing.
So move.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, we're out of public hearing. What is the pleasure of the board in regards to these requests?
For a matter of discussion, I did hear the county planner say that it was unanimous decision by her board.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the zoning request as stated and approved by the planning board.
Second.
All right, it's been motion second that we approve the request for rezoning. Mr. J. Harrell, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right.
Okay. I have one last rezoning request for you. This is from Ms. Ann Howell. This lot does not have an address, but you have a vicinity map that you should in your packet. It is on Little Island Road. It is approximately 5 acres. Recently was wooded, but it has been cleared, at least half of it has been cleared. She is requesting that it be rezoned from R1 to RMH as well. And the planning board did unanimously approve that motion.
Were there any statements or anything made that you might want to share with us, or just?
There was no opposition for either request. Mr. Keith Truman, who is with the town of Ahoskie, he came and represented her because she was unable to be there. I've had no complaints from surrounding neighbors. I posted the property like we are required to do. There really hasn't been any comment.
Okay. This is strictly one lot, even though it's a 5 acre.
Yes, sir, it's about a 5-acre tract and it's one lot.
Right.
All right. Are there no other comments? And we'll entertain a motion to go in public hearing.
I move that we go into public hearing on this matter, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
There's been motion and second that we go into public hearing. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, we are in public hearing.
Good morning, I'm Ann Howell from Ewa. This is a part of what I inherited from my father. It's between 5 and 6 acres of land. It's not very suitable for a stick-built home. Hopefully, in years to come, maybe my grandchildren or great-grandchildren might possibly want to put something there. The only practical thing with the lay of the land would be a mobile home or a modular home. I don't think anyone would want to go in there and build a $200,000 home on that piece of land. And since it was a moratorium, that was the reason that I decided to request it be rezoned. It has been, the timber has been cut, and it has just recently, last week, been reset. So we have no plans to do anything with it in the near future. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Dan.
My name is Dan Bazemore. I'm from the Hall Township. Most of you know me. I am very familiar with this piece of land that Ms. Howell has put in a request for. And I'm here to tell you that there's 20 mobile homes joining her property. And in that vicinity, there's only 2 stick-built homes, one of which she was raised in. The other one which was built some years later. So when you see 20 mobile homes in that immediate community, both to the right, to the left of her property, what should it have been zoned as to start with when you went through your rezoning here some years ago, other than RHM1? And so I recommend that the board consider that and approve her request for RHM1. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Anyone else? If there are no other public comments, we entertain a motion to come out of public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been motion second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right. All right, board, we are presented with this request to be rezoned from R1 to RMH1. Are there any discussions? I would like to comment and lead off with that certainly this is an area that the planning board should consider rezoning the whole area, not just in one area.
Yes, sir, we certainly are.
Okay. And, I think as been stated, these are miszonings from our initial start. When you have an entire community that is modular homes. That's my comment.
And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make the comment, none of us were on the board at the time when these rezonings were done, and they were done from an outside source, is my recollection. And we are certainly aware that there are numerous properties that are not zoned properly. But the best way to approach those is when the landowner wants to. And, so just like the moratorium, that was advertised and put out there to draw attention to this matter. We are well aware that there are properties that are not properly zoned, and we're encouraged that people are taking it on themselves to bring it before us. But we don't want to, it's important that we don't go out there and do the wrong thing hurriedly in a manner that just encompasses everybody's property. I'm really in favor of getting it right, but getting it right on an individual basis so that we're able to hear each person's response. So those are my comments on that.
All right.
Well, I concur with all of the comments that have been made. Obviously, this has been something that's been, we need to have common sense approach, and it doesn't seem to me like that we actually started off that way, that when this was done initially, and we need to make these corrections, and they need to be pointed out. And like Jack says, we don't want just going, you don't want to go out throwing darts at things, but you do want to listen to what people have to say and make those good decisions that impact everyone and give people the opportunity, just as Mr. Bazemore had said here. That's the kind of input and feedback that you need in order to make those competent and informed decisions. And we need to move on this to get these things corrected when they appear like this, and when citizens know that they have been infringed upon their rights to a certain extent. So I concur.
Kenny, any comment?
I think this is certainly the right thing to do, and we need to look at the rest of this also. And I think Morgan said in the March meeting it would be coming back for that whole area. And I think that's probably the right thing to do.
Commissioner Hopper?
I have a little different take on it since I was on the planning board. And sometimes it's a very difficult decision in these communities, which way you go by the call. So I think you have to take be very deliberate in your process that you do it by. Like I say, it doesn't help us to rush through anything, because we might be compounding the problem.
All right. If there's no further discussion, we'll entertain a motion to rezone the property of the requester, Ms. Ann Howell.
Mr. Chairman, I make that motion that we rezone the R1 to RMH1 for Ms. Ann Howell per se on the parcel indicated.
Second.
All right, it's been, it's been motioned and second that we approve the rezoning as requested and recommended by the planning board. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right.
Thank you. I have one thing to hand to you. I'll hand to the clerk. I think it will help you under your new business, section D, subsection 2.
All right, we have old business. We have two items that are fairly quick to address, and at that time we'll go into a brief recession or take a break and prepare for our new business with the Department of Transportation. But in our old business, at our last commissioners meeting, we had a personnel ordinance request. And I'm looking for that. See my package. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right, thank you, Jack. I get too many papers here. All right, at our last commissioners meeting, we had a personnel ordinance amendment, which was to recognize years of service of employees transferring from one local government retirement system to another. And the general statute specifically says that when we do an amendment to an ordinance, we have to have 100% board approval at the first presentation of that amendment. We did not have 100% board approval. One commissioner was out sick at that particular time, and so the statute says that we have to bring it back before the board and get a majority rule again. So the amendment was section 6.13 of our personnel ordinance, and we would ask for a motion to approve the amendment as presented in our last commissioners meeting for adoption.
Mr. Chairman, I make that motion that we accept the amendment 6.13, recognition of service,
All right.
as presented.
I second.
All right, it's been motion second that we approve the amendment to the personnel ordinance. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, thank you. The second item under old business, at the last commissioners meeting, we had a tax clerk who had maxed out at the pay grade that they were currently in, and therefore they were not able to receive the merit pay raise that the county gave to employees who had performance evaluations of highly above standard or outstanding. And we looked at the duties of the clerk and the pay grade that they were in, and we decided to move them from a 54AA to a 55X, which was only a minimal amount of increase, but it will allow that clerk to receive merit pay raises in the future. That was approved by the board at our last commissioners meeting, but what was not approved was the fact that the tax clerk's position description or job duties was changed from that of a tax clerk to a tax specialist. And the job description was updated to reflect the duties that were being performed. So at this time, you have before you the job description of the tax specialist, and we would ask for a motion to adopt this new job description for the tax specialist.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and second. Is there any discussion? All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, we thank you very much. All right, at this time, we'll ask the North Carolina Department of Transportation to get prepared to do their presentation, but we'll take a brief recess of about 5 minutes, and then we'll get started. Okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right, at this time, we will have all right. It's been brought to my attention, board, that the approval of the tax clerk change of title as well as pay grade was not given an effective date, and we recommend the date of January 1st, 2013. And if that date is acceptable, we would ask the board to make a motion to initiate the change on that date.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the effective date be January 1, 2013.
Second the motion.
All right, it's been motion and second that the effective date of the rate and title change be January 1st, 2013 for the tax office. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, thank you. All right, Michelle James, we would turn it over to you. Can we get the mic? Do we have a portable mic? Yes, please. Danny, we'll get to it.
Turn it off. Yeah, good.
Good morning. Okay. Can you all hear me?
Not yet.
He's working on it.
Working on it.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, keep talking. You can hear me now? Can you hear me now? Okay. All right. Good morning. My name is Michelle James, and I'm with the North Carolina Department of Transportation, and I am the project planning engineer for this particular project, which is Project R2579. Oh, but let me, Mr. Jordan here?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, you're Mr. Jordan, okay. Well, Mr. Jordan invited us, the NCDOT, to come down and just give some information about the project. So thank you again, we appreciate it. The project is in Gates and Pasquotank County. It is actually about 16 miles long. Are you all gonna hold this up? Okay. It's about 16 miles long, and since we are at a Gates County Commissioners meeting, we're only gonna talk about the part of the project that's in Gates County. Get in front here. All right. So the project is about 16 miles long, and what we're looking at doing is widening US 158 from west of Sunbury to all the way down to Morgan's Corner. We're going to look at doing a widening the road from 2 lanes to 4 lanes and have a 46-foot median. We've broken the project up into 3 sections, and the first section is actually in Sunbury. The second section is in right where the Great Dismal Swamp is, and the third section is in Morgan's Corner. So I think the first thing I wanted to talk to you all about was the resources that we have, no, the purpose and need. The purpose of the project, well, we have some issues going on with 158 and the shoulders. Right along in the area where the Great Dismal Swamp is, the shoulders are not really that wide, and they're not really that stable, so that's an issue. We've had 200 accidents from January 2008 till December 31st, 2012. In that stretch of 158. Another thing is we've got to get this roadway up to par because it is a highway evacuation route. Along with it being a highway evacuation route, it's also been designated as a strategic highway corridor. So keeping those things in mind, we wanted to get this roadway to where it's very safe. We also wanted to increase the capacity. And I actually, we have something called a merger team at NCDOT. And that's just where we have state and federal agencies that come together and make decisions about the project. So at the end of the project, when we get ready to build it, we won't have an issue with getting permits from all the different agencies. And at this particular concurrence meeting, which was the first one, is our purpose and need. This is what our established purpose and need is: to improve safety along US 158, increase capacity, and to enhance the function of the highway as a strategic highway corridor and hurricane evacuation route. Okay. Now, the other thing that we had to consider when we're looking at planning and designing this project is our resources. We have natural resources, we have historic resources, and community resources. In Sunbury, as you can see, our historic resource is this district here, Sunbury Historic District. Our natural resources are the wetlands and streams, as designated in blue. Now, of course, our community resources are, we have churches along here and along the project. We have a fire station and another church. And of course, we don't want to forget about the biggest resource, which is downtown Sunbury. All right. The next thing I want to go into is actually just the, I want to talk about the alternatives. Oh, and the Newland Canal, that is, and the swamp, the Great Dismal Swamp. Those are some of the natural resources also. So the next thing I wanted to talk about quickly was the alternatives. When we are doing a project, one of the first alternatives we look at, this is the existing highway of 158, alternative 1B. Well, if we're widening the road to another lane on each side and putting a 46-foot median in there, what will that do to downtown Sunbury? It will wipe it out. So for that reason, we eliminated that alternative. So we said, okay, well, we're going to develop 3 more to the south and 2 more to the north. So we looked at alternative 1A. 1A, we were hoping to miss the Sunbury Historic District, but as you can see, we're cutting right through there. But that is because between our meetings, the State Historic Preservation Office decided they were going to extend the limits of the historic district. So for that reason, since it's cutting right through the district, we eliminated that alternative also. So we came up with another alternative, even further north. This is alternative 1F. Now, we miss the historic district, and we miss most of the natural resources of the wetlands and stream. So this alternative actually is still into play. Alternative 1C, it's not that far from downtown Sunbury, so we wanted to keep it kind of close. But as you can see, it's cutting right through the historic district, but it's actually still in the mix. So alternatives 1D and 1E, they're very similar, but alternative 1D clips this historic district. And alternative 1E, it pretty much gets into the our natural resources of the wetlands and streams. But since we decided that they are so similar, we'll go ahead and get rid of one of them. So for that reason, we decided to get rid of alternative 1E. So to recap, the alternatives still in the mix for this project are alternative 1F, 1C, and 1D. And for the second, that's it, thank you. For the second section of the project, we have alternative 2A and 2B. And basically, they are just right along the area where the Great Dismal Swamp is. And the Great Dismal Swamp is actually in refuge. It is a protected, it's federally protected, and basically we can't touch it. We can't impact it at all. with our highway construction project. So for that reason, it was eliminated. Now, alternative 2B is just like 2A, it's just shifted to the south a little bit. And that way, that keeps us from impacting the wildlife refuge. So right now, the only alternative that we know for sure that we're going to use is alternative 2B. And so that's it for the alternatives. Sure. We're going to use the shoulders as a dam for the for two.
Part of what we're doing is trying to maintain the existing roadway as really a dam, because it's been a dam for however many years it's been there. So the intention of both designs was to use the existing roadway, the road bed at least, but all the widening would go to the south. So the existing two-lane road bed would become more of a large shoulder, so to speak, and all the widening would go to the south of that. No, no, no. Yes, sir. Yes, yes. Think of the existing two-lane road bed really just as the shoulder of the north side of the two lanes that would be heading west in that case. And then you'd have two more lanes to the south going east.
All right, so that's it for the alternatives. The next thing I wanted to quickly touch on was this, the schedule and our public involvement. In 2007 and 2011, we held citizens informational workshops. And that was an opportunity for the citizens to come out, express their concerns about the project, tell us what they thought about it, see if they could locate their home, see if they would be impacted, and leave us with their comments. So we had both of those in Morgan's Corner. I don't know how well the representation was from the Sunbury residents, but I can tell you today we are willing to come out and have another workshop if that's what you all feel like we should do. We want to keep you all aware of what's going on with the project, the progression of the project, how we're making decisions about the project, and what decisions have already been made. So you can let me know if, if you'd like for us to come out and actually hold a citizens informational workshop in Sunbury or somewhere near there.
Well, I can assure you now that we will be asking for a workshop and update in the near future. You're probably going to touch on this, but one of the things that the citizens are concerned about is, do you have any projected start date for the Sunbury bypass, or whichever end you start with? I'm not sure which end you're going to start, from the 17 and work back, or Sunbury. What is your projected start date that would impact this area that we're talking about?
Well, I'm not sure what end we're going to start on, but I can say that we're looking at 2019 to start acquiring right-of-way, for the project. Okay. I'm actually scheduled to finish my environmental document, which is an environmental assessment, also known as an EA, next month. And after that, we plan on having a public hearing. So I might beat you to the punch. I might have that public hearing before you can get around to asking me about having a workshop for you all.
And the hearing and the workshop is about the same ability for the citizens to come and comment on alternatives.
Okay. So right now we are, our project for construction is in post-year. So that's all I have. Do you all have any questions? Or did you want to add anything?
You started off and you said something about the accidents, what was 200 and what?
200, actually 199 from 2008, January 1st
All right.
to 12/31.
Now statistically, the 199 divided by the total vehicle traffic in a year's time, how many, back when the 13 project out here, there was some maps out there that had up to the Tar Heel intersection, there was 5,700 cars average per day on 13, and on 158, it was 1,700 cars per day. So the most heavily traveled section of Gates County is from Tar Heel to the Winton Bridge. And really the heaviest is 137 to the bridge of the traffic thing. So on an accidental ratio, accident ratio to vehicle thing, how does that compare to prior? Which obviously I would think traffic is increasing some, but how would that compare to what we're citing here prior to 2008?
Well, I just received the information yesterday, so I actually haven't had an opportunity to look at the project, that information in depth yet.
Okay.
Well, that would be part of the environmental assessment to be able to get more statistics what you're talking about.
Well, I'm saying you started off saying this was approved by an accident just because we had accidents, so I'd like to know how that specifically relates to number of vehicles. What's your probability, in other words? It's just like anything. If you had 1 million cars a day, you're going to expect some accidents. If you have 1,000, you know. So what's the ratio comparatively speaking like that? And next thing, what is the projected cost of this project?
Around 92 million right now is what's budgeted, and right now the estimates that we have are over that. Probably about a good 10,000 at least. Those are being finalized also for the environmental assessment. And when that environmental assessment comes out, it will. Thank you. When the environmental assessment is completed in a few months, it will have the cost information, so we'll be able to adjust our transportation improvement program to adjust for the future construction cost. It will also have the details of the accidents. Michelle, like she said, that the information has just been updated to look at the validity. This project's been around for a while. When it was instigated, it was based on accident data in the probably early 2000s. I know there have been a continuing deterioration of 158 in the Dismal Swamp area especially that we've been trying to address. And it's been difficult to deal with that with the small shoulders without adding pavement and dirt out there. And so there's been a hold off on that until we can get this study finalized to determine what kind of improvements that we would say ultimately we would need out there. So all that information is going to be a part of the environmental assessment, the updated accident information, the relationship to the strategic highway corridor, and all of that will be spelled out better. So the questions that you're asking right now, we're sort of in the middle of the data, and we'll be able to finalize that in a couple of months when that environmental assessment is made public.
On a state basis, what would be the prioritization ranking of the state's budget as to this project versus other projects in the state? I know there's got this big thing at Rand Cary. They had a 4-lane on the south section there. There's a lot of different ones, and we got Currituck, we got the Oregon Inlet Bridge and all of those things. So where does this prioritize as far as the state?
Well, and I can't answer that totally. The prioritization is based on projects that are not yet funded, more so. Once it's in the STIP, the Transportation Improvement Program, it has been prioritized, and so this one has been prioritized. But you can see, if you've been following the last several STIPs, it has continued to slip somewhat. We have funding for right-of-way right now in 2019, and unfortunately, it is not funded. And the program right now goes through 2023 and is not funded within the confines of those years. But it is since it's funded for right-of-way, it has been prioritized to an extent. The priority is, you can see based on if it was, you've got different US 158 projects that are staggered on here. You've got the one from Winton that's under construction. You've got from Winton to the Murfreesboro bypass that's under construction. You've got farther west, you've got 2582 and 84, which carries you around Jackson and Garysburg. That one is more in the 2014 to 2017 time frame. And so you can see the US 158 projects. There are in a way, they're just staggered because all of the funding is not going to be able to go to the 158 corridor at the same time. So you can see where we've got 2 active projects right now, sort of in your vicinity. They're in the, I think they're in Hertford County right now. Yes, sir.
So is that one still on the board, the one to connect 17 and 13 north bypass of Ahoskie still on the books? There was a 4-lane project, it's just been in the last 2-3 years.
Okay, I'm not as familiar with that project. That one has morphed, I believe, into another kind of project.
There was a big debate about that on NC 11 from Greenville, connecting 64, down NC 11 around the southwest side of Ahoskie, and then the 17 connector around the northeast part of, well, matter of fact, it connected we're in NC 45 there in Winton, and around Pyesville is picking up 13, which is 13, 4-lane out to Windsor and connecting there in Windsor.
Well, if you know the TIP numbers, we can look them up. I brought the draft STIP with us. I'm not as familiar with those. Most of my team has been working on the US 158 corridor.
Right.
We've got 4 projects that we've been working on there. And so we have different teams in the department that are working on like that project, for instance. So unfortunately, I'm not as familiar with the details of that, but we'd be glad to get that information for you.
That's fine. I was just wondering if it's still on the board.
Anyone else?
Would it be possible for you to leave those maps up until we adjourn so the citizens could come up and look at them?
Certainly.
You know that we're adjourning at 4.
Jack will be here.
We'll be glad to leave them with you, and we can print out others, seriously.
Well, if you can get them posted online for the people to see them, it would be great.
Right now, I don't know that we have them posted online at the moment because they are under development.
Okay.
The environmental assessment that's coming out in March would have a small version of all these, but we'll be glad to leave them with you. Are you really here till 4 o'clock?
No.
Okay.
Just one question, other question. I'm not sure if you are prepared to answer this, but I know it's on the mind of a lot of our citizens. When we do decide what will be the route, as far as properties are concerned, when will eminent domain kick in for the state? After you've offered a market, I would say a market value for the properties or tax values. I mean, when does eminent domain kick in? When you decide that we're gonna use these properties, we're gonna go on the south side of Sunbury, and you ask John P. Cute, citizen, to sell his property, and he said no thanks. So when does eminent domain kick in? For market value or tax value?
Good question. Our process, eminent domain, is, of course, the last resort. None of this would occur before 2019 when right-of-way funding monies would be available for that. And since it is that far out, it's hard to judge. We usually look at a 2 to 3 year time period for right-of-way. Actually, when we have the public hearing this summer, after the environmental assessment is finished, we'd have the public hearing, and at the public hearing, we would have right-of-way agents that would be able to answer those questions much better than we can. That's not our specialty, but we do have experts that would be able to answer it in general and concept. It's hard to put dates on it, but it would be a last resort issue for the department, of course.
Hopefully that won't have to happen.
We have none.
I have one more question. Will there be a public hearing for Pasquotank County and Gates County, or just one public hearing?
And I'm glad you brought that up. Because of finding venues that are large enough to have the hearings, we've had both workshops happen to have been at the Ruritan Club. Yeah, the Rotary Club in Morgan's Corner, because it has been a good facility. It was our concern that there wasn't enough participation from the Sunbury area, which is one reason why we were glad to come here today and be able to share, because no decisions have been made on a recommendation. We're still just that we've had a large set of alternatives that we've eliminated some. We feel like we have a good selection still of alternatives to be able to compare apples to apples well. We are open to having two or having one at this end, and that's why we'd love for you to weigh in on that, about whether or not you think we'd get a lot more support and participation if we had two, or if we had a good venue in the Sunbury area that would provide us the opportunity and a large enough area for people to come.
Does summer mean June, or, I mean, do you know what month?
No, we don't know what month exactly. We anticipate, well, summer for us could be August, September, going into anywhere in the summertime. I would say anywhere from June to September.
I'd say that we would ask that you put us on the schedule for a hearing in Sunbury, a public hearing or workshop. And we've got Merchants Mill Pond, which is a nice area. We could schedule that, or if we need to, we could do it at the community center if we need a larger area. So we would ask that you do look at your schedule, and we can, work with that and get it publicized and get our editor of our paper to kind of publicize it so that we'll get good participation, and I think we will.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'd like to see it held probably at T.S. Cooper School, right there in Sunbury during the summer months when there was no school. And I just throw that out as a recommendation.
Right. Yeah, that would be.
There would be great parking, people from the area, just right there.
Yeah.
And that's which school?
T.S. Cooper Elementary.
Highway 32.
What about the fire department also?
The new fire department would probably be a good place to also.
Yeah. Sunbury, T.S. Cooper School, or the fire department in Sunbury, one of those.
Also, I would like to see these maps put in our hall like we did the last one on the, from the Chowan River to Tar Heel. We taped them up out here in the hall. If they'll let us keep these maps, I'd like to see them put out there and left for anybody coming in that wants to look at it.
As I said right now, the designs it's public knowledge. We're very careful about putting the preliminary designs out there. When we have the public hearing and we have a hearing map,
right,
at that point, yes, we would definitely be getting you several copies, and that would be made public, and you can have that for public consumption. And that actually would be better, because those maps are will be more detailed than what you see right here. This is still general corridors we've been operating off of. Our design group, in the meantime, is doing the preliminary designs to the point where we can tell much better of impacts to properties, whether it's homes, businesses, or whatever. This one is general enough where we can talk impacts in general, but it also, we want to be very careful, because we don't want to get people upset when they don't need to be, because we're showing corridors right here, and they'll show a little smaller band of how the impact would better show how the impacts would affect people.
All right. There are no more comments from the board. Any citizens have a comment that would like to weigh in? Mr. Harrell, if you come forward. Is it on? Is it red? All right, make it red.
Very well. Okay, just a quick comment. This project is 25, right now, this project's 25 years out from what it was proposed to be in 1989, if you'll go back. And I may be mistaken, but I think I've got the documentation at home. I think I have the very newspaper that states during Governor Martin's term back in the late 80s about the full laning of 158. Could you confirm it goes back that far, I know that.
I'm sure it does. I'm not sure exactly how far.
So we're already 25 years out. 2019, I'll put it 30 years. High time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, John. All right. Anyone else? All right. We thank you so much for coming, and we look forward to getting more updates, and I believe we're, anxious to see this project move forward. We want to see it done in a way that, is going to be a great benefit to all of us, make it a win-win. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Our next item on our agenda will be from our DSS Director, the Annual Community Child Protection Team Report.
Commissioners, Mr. Manager, citizens, I want to thank you for having me today. I'd like to give you our annual report from the Gates County Community Child Protection Team and as well as the Gates County Child Fatality Prevention Team. A brief history on that is that the Community Child Protection Team was established by the Executive Order 142 in May of 1991, and in July of 1993, General Statute 7A 143 576.1 developed the original purpose and composition of the team. In that statute, some of the mandated members are the County Director of Social Services, a local law enforcement officer, an attorney from the District Attorney's Office, an executive director of a local community action agency, superintendent of each local school administrative unit, a member of the County Board of Social Services, a local mental health professional, the local guardian ad litem coordinator, the director of the Department of Public Health, and a local health care provider to sit on that board. The Board of County Commissioners also has the authority to appoint up to 5 additional members to represent various county agencies or the community at large to serve on the board. In these appointments, it gives the commissioners a chance to involve all aspects of the community that impact children or have the potential to impact children in the county. A brief update on the purpose. In the background section, we are an interdisciplinary group of community representatives who meet regularly to promote a community-wide approach to the problem of child abuse and neglect. Some of the actions that we take is we serve as a citizen review panel to review selected cases. We annually submit recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners, which is what we are doing now. Some of our responsibilities, and when we review active cases, is to select categories that are defined by the team that interest them, that we see as a recurring issue in child abuse and neglect cases in the county. We brought these for review at the specific request of a team member, or they're brought for review at the initiative of the director of the Department of Social Services. The purposes of these reviews are to try to identify gaps and deficiencies that exist within the community, increase public awareness about conditions that impact child protection, advocate for system improvements and needed resources, and to use our team to assist the county director in the protection of children, and also to inform the commissioners about actions needed to prevent or ameliorate child abuse, neglect, or dependency. In our review of child fatalities, we also have local reviews of this. In these fatalities, we look at reports where there have been from suspected abuse, neglect, or dependency of children, a report that has been made about a child or his family to the County Department of Social Services within the previous 12 months, or the child or his family received child protective services within the previous 12 months. This report is bound by statute for me to give to you. General Statute 7B 1406 requires that we submit an annual report to the board. An update on our local team. Members that currently sit on the team now, it's myself, Ann Holly, who is our social work supervisor. Our 2 social work, Child Protective Services social workers, Sherry Boone and Connie Smithson, regularly sit on that team. Edward Webb is a member of the team as well. Andrea Cheney represents the District Attorney's Office. She is a Child Abuse Victim Coordinator. Reba Green Holly, our Cooperative Extension Director, sits on that board. Adrian Bradley represents Dr. Williams in the school board. Fanny Spivey is our DSS board member who is on that board. Hope Bailey represents East Carolina Behavioral Health. Kathleen Foreman, who is our Guardian Ad Litem Administrator for District 1. Karen Riddick is also sitting on that board, and she serves at the pleasure of Albemarle Regional Health Services. She is also our Child Fatality Prevention Team Chair. Judy Clark, Buckland School Counselor, And Billy Wynn, Gates County Emergency Management Director, sits on that board as well. Our meetings are held every third Thursday. They're held quarterly. In this year, January, April, July, and October, they'll be held at 12 noon at the Gates County Department of Social Services. We are proud to report that in 2012, we did not have to review any fatalities that was brought to our attention by the state. Unfortunately, I can go ahead and say that that number will change in 2013. We review all child deaths, and we review those deaths to try to see if there's any gaps or deficiencies in the system that could prevent that in the future. I'd like to bring to the attention of the board some of the impacts that still affect the well-being of families and children in our community. The first impact is mental health. Some of the areas of deficiencies that we see as a team is that individuals suffering from mental health issues often have trouble knowing where to locate providers if they have had no prior involvement with services. Another issue is that we would like to advocate for a PRTF facility in the region. That's a patient residential treatment facility. Those facilities normally treat children of adolescence up into the upper teen years that have major behavioral issues that are often almost impossible to treat in the home or without patient services. We would also ask that services for sexual offenders continue to be advocated for in this region, as that is severely lacking. Outpatient and residential services for the mentally ill continue to be in a deficient manner. As we see, there's been closings of Dorothea Dix, Holly Hill, thus eliminating the number of beds. I think the last figure that we have seen is that the bed level now is at the same level it was in 1985. So that continues to be a major deficiency in area of mental health in our state in treating those who desperately need it. Also, we continue to see issues when individuals who do receive inpatient treatment are discharged from inpatient mental health facilities not receiving the proper follow-up treatment to address their mental illness. Domestic violence also continues to remain an issue in our county. Albemarle Hope Line is the primary agency serving Gates County. We would like to ensure that everyone knows that Albemarle Hope Line has obtained office space right here on Court Street, located next to the barbershop, where they are now providing services to county residents 2 days a week. The remaining days of the week, their services can be accessed to their office in Elizabeth City. We believe it's vital that all agencies continue to collaborate and inform other agencies who need that information when they come into contact with victims or perpetrators of domestic violence to ensure that referrals are made to the appropriate agencies. Substandard housing continues to be an issue that we see. Lack of indoor plumbing, unsafe structures, antiquated, insufficient heating sources, all of which place children and disabled elderly at risk. The county continues to try and make strides to address these issues. In the coming months, the CDBG grant will be completed that will include a comprehensive assessment of the housing needs in the county that will position the Gates County Housing Committee and the county to try and obtain grants to help address some of these issues. Also, the urgent repair grant is currently being administered by the Gates County Housing Committee. That will serve up to 12 homes of low income and elderly and disabled families and individuals who have urgent repair needs at their home that could cause them to be removed imminently from that home if it's not repaired. As we all know, the economy continues to affect our children and community. The unemployment rate still remains high, as well as does the poverty rate. We would like to inform the board of our initiative that we took on this past year. In October, members of the Community Child Protection Team and Child Fatality Prevention Team held a texting while driving forum at Gates County High School. The first day included an informational session where we handed out statistics regarding texting while driving accidents and how that affects driving. We also had a display that was set out for students to see when they were coming in and out from lunch. We also asked students to sign a pledge that they would not text while driving. The second day, with the assistance of the State Highway Patrol, we had an obstacle course that was set up in the bus parking lot at Gates County High School. During this, we set up cones where we had students drive through once while they were not texting, and then drive through a second time while they were receiving a text, reading it, and trying to text. We can say that it had a major impact on those students that witnessed it and participated in that event. We are also required to give recommendations to the board. We thank you for listening to these recommendations. We ask the board to continue to provide sufficient funding to the Department of Social Services to enable the provision of quality child protective services and supportive services for families. To fund a fully trained, dedicated law enforcement officer to assist DSS in matters with expertise in child and elder abuse, neglect, and exploitation. Provide additional safe recreational opportunities for youth to divert them from dangerous activities that they engage in for lack of other options. Encourage, enhance, and continue collaboration between DSS, law enforcement, public health, mental health, the courts, and the community in the assessment and treatment of domestic violence, substance abuse, and other identified issues that threaten family self-sufficiency, safety, and permanency for children. Support the CCPT and CFPT's exploration of funding options for community awareness and education, and provide a local match if required. And please consider the funding of a community development manager that can work in partnership with other county agencies and committees to address the increasing number of substandard living environments in the county by identifying and administering grant opportunities. Other information that we would like to give you related to child protection specific to this county. There are some good things going on. First is that the Judicial District continues to strengthen the family court model. The Court Improvement Program Coordinator has brought training to enhance collaboration to the district and continues to standardize court reports and other documents and ensure timely appointments of guardian ad litem and parents' attorneys in order to have those cases that do go through the family court system in District 1 to go through timely and in a manner that is beneficial to not only the child but also to the family. Ann Holly represents our committee on the Gates Partners for Health Subcommittee on Injury Prevention. As we said, in October, representatives from Albemarle Hope Line provided training to our group on domestic violence and sexual assault. Gates Partners for Health this year also just coordinated the 6th Annual Family Fun and Fitness Day in September, where county residents receive health screenings, tips on nutritional eating, and fun games and activities. Also, Albemarle Hope Line holds a Purple Ribbon campaign in Gates County during October, as this is the Domestic Violence Prevention and Awareness Month. And also, just like to reiterate our Wait to Text campaign that took place in October.
All right, we thank you.
Well, thank you for listening to me.
All right. We've got your recommendations, and certainly they'll be taken into consideration. All right. The next item on our agenda will be our county manager regarding East Carolina Behavioral Health Board changes.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as a matter of information, the East Carolina Behavioral Health is in the process or will be undergoing some legislative changes due to the Senate Law 2012-151 passed in the 2012 session of the General Assembly. It changes the board composition of that board, leaving the potential for member counties not to all be represented. The legislation essentially restricts the number of board seats available. So the board is fairly large now, and it will get smaller based on that Senate law. You will find correspondence attached in your packet there from the East Carolina Behavioral Health, and they have a request to you that they're going to be studying this issue, and in June 2013, they're going to have an implementation plan. I did a little research on this, and I talked to our fellow counties at the Legislative Goals Conference for the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, and it's a real problem. Gaston County set to my left, but they set us in alphabetical order, and he has real concerns with it, the representative from there. All the counties from A to Y, if you will. There are no Z counties in the state, but they're all concerned about it. And it's an issue that was brought forth in that Legislative Goals Conference. It was adopted at that conference by the NC Association of County Commissioners as Health and Human Services Goal number 4. And what that goal is broadly called Restore Local Autonomy to the LME MCO governance structure. East Carolina Behavioral Health is our LME, and this means is that counties ought to be able to have representation on boards that they fund and that provide services into the community, to allow the community to have some control of those services that are provided. So it's an issue that East Carolina Behavioral Health has brought to us. It's an issue that is known with the NC Association of County Commissioners. Around about June 2013, East Carolina Behavioral Health will be coming back to us with their proposed recommendations. But I wanted to let you know that there is another avenue for this as well, and that's with the Association of County Commissioners. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Kenny, Commissioner Jernigan, you serve on that board currently. Do you have any input on it?
When I originally went on that board, I can't remember just how long ago it's been, there was only 9 counties with ECBH. And I'm sure y'all probably remember when the Albemarle board sort of went belly up because they didn't have no money and there was some misappropriations of monies and stuff. There was 10 counties in that with Albemarle. Well, ECBH, the state basically turned over those 10 counties to ECBH, and it went to 19 members. And now they're looking at going to additional counties going to ECBH to the south of us. So that ECBH, East Carolina Behavioral Health, has grown tremendously from 9 counties to 19 in one setting. And now they're getting ready to add some more. So every county that needs a representative, and every county does need a representative. So that's where this has come from. And one county out there by themselves, unless you're a tremendously large county, there's no way you can fund all the programs that are out there. I can't remember just how much money that we spend with ECBH. I want to say it's like about $35,000 to something to that effect each year that we give ECBH. But it handles and covers so many different programs for mental health that we can use them. And they have all kinds of great big federal money. I'm talking about up there, I think the last figure I saw was in the $50 to $60 million a year that they go through. And there's no way that Gates County can provide these type services when they're needed. From psychiatrists to housing and different things, and homes for the people that that have mental problems. So it's a great facility, but they keep getting things pushed on them from across the state. You know, our legislators, they love putting stuff out there, but sometimes they don't fund it quite like they need to. So that's where it comes from.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jernigan. I think one of the things we've dealt with in Gates County is representation from East Carolina Behavioral Health. When the service is needed, it's been hard to get in touch with them. But you know, hopefully that improves as we go along. All right, if there are no other comments, we'll move forward. Our next item on the agenda is to give authorization to the chairman to sign the contract with the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Service Division, Water and Conservation. This is, I don't know if we have anyone here representing them, but it's basically a formality. We do have a funding line item in place, but we have to sign a contract with them to procure those services from year to year. So if there is any discussion on the contract, if not, we will entertain a motion to authorize the chairman to sign this contract with the Division of Soil and Water Conservation to procure those services for the upcoming year.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and properly second. All in favor, aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. All right, thank you. Okay, the last item on our agenda is at our last commissioners' meeting, we committed to address the next two non-riders motorcycle club and give them a response on their request or their concern that they may have been mislabeled as a private club, lodge, versus an organization, fraternal or social. Ms. Jenkins, we are prepared to discuss that item. If you have any introductory information that you want to present, or do you want to allow the board to give you the results of their investigation?
Okay. First off, I would like to say good afternoon, and I am Francis Jenkins, president of Next Nine Riders, a nonprofit corporation founded here in Gates County in 2011. At the last board meeting, I gave 6 packets of information out. You all have those so y'all can follow along with me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if everyone bought it back. I did bring mine. Okay. Anyone has it, they can share.
I got one.
You can share one with Kenny then. Do you have an extra copy?
No, I don't.
Okay. In case you need to share with Joe.
Well, I mean, do you have one, Ken?
No, I don't have one.
I don't have mine either.
We can share.
Okay, all right.
All right.
Okay, the issue, well, actually, it's the second issue that I had, but you have it first, so I'll address my first issue second. The second issue the first issue is with the Planning Department Director, Mrs. Jeffro. Mrs. Jeffro has wrongfully categorized our organization as a private club or lodge. This was put in the county newspaper and has definitely degraded our character here in the community and has misled the citizens here as well. We are being frowned upon for the misrepresentation that Ms. Jeffro has given the citizens. We are a group of individuals who have set out to be a positive aspect here in Gates County. Due to the fact that we were wrongfully categorized as something that we're clearly not, led to our special permit use being denied. We are trying to resolve this matter at the lowest level possible. I have provided proof through the organization's articles of incorporation that we are the definition of the 2009 zoning ordinance states that number 19, club or lodge, private, an establishment operated by a corporation or association of persons for recreational or charitable purposes, but which is not operated for profit or to render a service which is customarily conducted as a business. Clearly, we are a social organization. Definition number 65, an establishment operated by a corporation or association of persons for social, fraternal, or charitable purposes, but which is not operated for profit or to render a service which is customarily conducted as business. We are not private and clearly not a lodge. If we were put in the category that we belong in as a social organization, we meet the requirements stated in Article 9.03-12 of the ordinance. And it clearly reads that fraternal and social organizations may be allowed in these districts designated in the table of permitted uses, subject to the requirements of the district which located and provided that the lot size shall be no less than 1 acre for new construction, no less than 1 acre for conversion of existing buildings. The usual floor space shall be no less than 250 square feet per resident. Off-street parking shall meet the requirements outlined in Article 10 of this ordinance, and the parking lot shall be provided with a continuous visual buffer with a minimum height of 6 feet. The buffer shall be combined fence and evergreen hedge or shrubbery screen. And if you look at the packet here, where I have where it is on 1 acre. I have a paper in there on that. We are put in a category by the Secretary of State and the federal government for the documentation shown on what our purpose is, not what Ms. Jeffro wants us to be. Is it that we are being discriminated against because, and stereotyped because we're African Americans and we ride motorcycles? I think that this is a serious issue and does not need to be ignored. Mrs. Jeffro has openly displayed an attitude and unprofessional demeanor during meetings and hearings by openly rolling her eyes and making gestures while issues are being addressed. Not to mention, during the special permit hearing, Mrs. Jeffro would barely let the only African American on the Board of Adjustment speak when he seemed to be unclear about what was being asked, as she failed to explain and move straight through it. The purpose of a hearing is to be heard. We are only asking to be considered for what we are, so that we can use the property at 790 Highway 13 North Gates to hold fundraisers to support our organization's purpose. We are willing to accept reasonable restrictions to preserve the quiet and enjoyment of the neighborhood. We are not being allowed to use the building that we have renovated. We have engaged over $10,000 in funds, and which has caused us additional financial hardship. We are being told we cannot even solicit donations for services rendered by us on the property. Organizations solicit donations here in the county all the time. Why are we being discriminated against? We have unfairly been misrepresented and discriminated against, and we are coming to you and asking you for the assistance in reconciling this issue before we move forward. Thank you all for your consideration. And is there any questions for me?
No. At the last meeting, you asked us to address the issue of being misidentified. First of all, I want to reiterate to the club or organization that the Board of Adjustment's decisions are not appealable to the commissioners, which I made you aware of that. Your appeal would be to the Superior Court. We were asked to consider whether or not we felt that there may have been a misidentification of your group being a club, large, private, as identified in Article 19 of our zoning ordinance, or a organization, fraternal or social. Well, we got together with Mrs. Jeffro and we asked for the basis for her decision. And the basis for the planning director's decision was determined to be that you all fell under the category of a recreational or charitable activity, based on the fact that riding of motorcycles and assembling together, that riding aspect of it does indicate that there's some recreational purpose there. It was a decision that required some judgment, but in my opinion, and the board will weigh in on this, that judgmental decision, there's not enough information for this board to overturn a decision made by the planning director when the planning director has given a basis for identifying as recreational. It's a judgment call, and for this board to direct the county manager, to direct the planning director, to change that judgmental decision would not be in keeping with good management of that department. If there was clear evidence that there was not an alternative to being labeled club, large, private versus organizational, fraternal, then we could possibly look at it doing that. In summation, the Board of Adjustments reviewed the presentations by your organization in requesting a special use permit, and I want to read to you the findings of the Board of Adjustments. The Board of Adjustment found that the proposed use would endanger the public health or safety. that the proposed use did not meet all the required conditions and specifications as required in the zoning ordinance, and that the use would injure the value of adjoining property, and the proposed use is not in keeping with the Campbell land use plan for Gates County. Therefore, the permit was denied. So, in reading that, I want to reiterate that even if this board changed the identification today from a social to a fraternal organization, there was a sufficient decision that the activity that was that could possibly go on at this particular place would be sufficient to not issue a special use permit. So it is my recommendation to the board, as well as well, my recommendation to your organization would be that it would be appropriate for you to take it to the next step, if that you so desire, to the Superior Court. You have until February 14th, I believe, to do that. But I'm going to turn it over to the board, if the board sees fit, to make a motion to change the designation of your organization. We'll have that discussion, and we'll have that motion if the board desires to do that, and direct the county manager to direct the planning director to make that change. We'll have that discussion.
Okay.
Jack.
Well, let me just make everybody aware that what the chairman is currently doing is he's stating facts. He's stating facts that he has here in front of him that were presented to him. So he's restated those facts, and he's restated what your recourse is going forward. In fact, we, because it has been ruled upon by this other board that, as chairman stated, we can't overturn, then what we're doing is what we agreed to do at our last meeting, which is to address the issue. And since that point in time, the last meeting, even more facts have come up, Francis, Ms. Jenkins, that really restricts us. I mean, we actually learned that we have a few more restrictions on us as to what we can do, simply because of the statutes that say that it has to go before a Superior Court, which really takes it out of our hands. So our discussion, and I'm reading on this this ordinance here, or the statute that's right here in front of me. It is an ordinance, rather, that says what the court would really be deciding on if you decide to go further. They'll really be deciding on our procedural process. Did we take they won't really be looking at our decision. They'll be looking at our process. So I've read this document 2 or 3 times, and here again, whatever we hear from anybody else on the board that comments, we're basically, all of us would just be simply stating a fact, and that's what we have in front of us. Okay?
John?
And I think that's a very good analogy, Jack, what we're saying here. But there again, this comes out to in this very sensitive society that we have today, it's about communications and intents. And I think that's where the breakdown is that part of it, that we have to, as citizens, negotiate, respect other people's opinions and stuff, but then it does come down to the situation of what the facts are and what rules are, and where do you go from there. And that process, I think, has been undergone, but it's all about communication. And if we as individuals do not communicate with other people, with our friends, our neighbors, you're going to have these kind of problems arise. And then, unfortunately, the only foundation you have to stand on is the documents that you have in place. And I think the chairman has stated that very well, and with Jack too. So I don't know where we go, but I think it's a lesson to be learned by all of us. That's something that we need to take to heed, that it is extremely important to listen to people and try to be respectful of other people's, I guess, interpretations or whatever. But there again, it all comes down to the laws that you have to follow and the procedures that you have to follow. Okay?
Kenny?
Well, this is in my community, and I see many people out here on both sides, some for the motorcycle club and some for the general community. They gave, in the Board of Adjustments, they took what they had. Ms. Morgan Jethro, to my opinion, did what she was supposed to do. When she received the paperwork for the ABC license, she had to stop what she was doing right then because you did not have the enough land. So that's where all this came from. The ABC board showed that. And the way it was listed in the paper, which was what you're talking about.
Exactly.
When you put in an ABC license in there, then that took care of the way she licensed it or looked at it. It changed the whole thing right then.
So you're saying to me social organizations, they don't...
It can be any social organization, but when you put that ABC license in that bill...
Well, how about we,
We'll give you a chance to speak, Ms. Jenkins.
All right.
Now, when you put that ABC license in there, it changed it. Then it was something a little bit different. And like I said before, from what I've seen of what you've done up there, I pass it every day. Y'all have improved the looks of the property tremendously. I will give you 100% of that. Y'all hauled off trash. Y'all repaired. Y'all mowed the grass, something that had not been done all summer. And I think every one of these citizens out here that pass it every day, we're glad to see that. What upset these people and what changed the whole process there was the ABC license. And when it went to the Board of Adjustments, it was taken out of our hands. And now it has to go through the legal channels that's set up by the state of North Carolina. Not Gates County, the state of North Carolina. We're not against you. We just want to see it done right.
All right, before we'll have Ms. Hoffler speak.
I agree with what my fellow commissioners have said. I think that, once again, is that the problem has been were the right questions asked in the very beginning when you purchased the property, or leased the property, I believe it was. You're leasing the property. Yes. About the zoning then. If that had been, if the right questions had been asked, all of this could have been avoided. But we are a country of rules of law, and we have to go by what the law says.
All right. I think the board is prepared to make a
Excuse me.
decision.
You said I was going to get a chance to speak.
I'm going to give you a chance to
Okay,
speak.
thank you.
The board is prepared to make a decision. But if you have any final comments you want to make before we go into a motion as to whether or not what has been requested will be accommodated.
Sure.
So speak now.
Sure. Okay, in response to what Mr. Jernigan said about the ABC permit, we clearly made it very clear at the planning board meeting hearing that it didn't matter about the ABC permit. That's where we initially were going because, I mean, hey, it was a great idea. We thought to help raise some funds to give back to the community as when we were doing our dinner sales, donations, or whatever you want to call it. We clearly let them know that, I mean, if you write the rider today and say do not issue a permit and next to none rider's name, it will not be a problem. So, okay, we're endangering the community. What about the meth lab that they had at the back door? Okay, I think that when they're out there hunting deer with their guns, I'm scared to death too. So just because you're not understanding where we're coming from doesn't mean that, okay, you shut us down. We're asking to accept donations for dinners, donuts, Girl Scouts. That people sell cookies and stuff every day. We've been shut down. We're being told that we can't do this. We have even since then been approached by some of the members in the neighborhood saying that we're not supposed to be there. So can Ms. Jeffro, somebody tell me, can we not have a meeting on this property? We still have a lease. And I think it's getting to a fact that we're being harassed. So can we not solicit funds for a dinner? Like I said, we're having a dinner sale here in the county. We have to put it at another place because she's saying we can't solicit funds. Clearly by the Secretary of State of North Carolina, we can do that. So she's saying that we can't. So tell me, what can we do then? We're not trying to run a business.
Morgan, did you want to respond to that? Yes.
No, they would not be permitted.
As it currently stands?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
On the premises.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. That's the answer. Would you care to explain that a little bit as to why, I mean, they don't have a special use permit? In other words, to operate as a entity, there's no provisions to...
They would not be allowed to utilize the property. They would not be allowed to, can you hear me now?
Okay.
They would not be allowed to utilize the property in any capacity under this, however you choose to call it, private lodge, a private club, what have you. They would not be allowed to utilize it for any type of fundraisers like that because it still is associated with the special use permit of the lodge or or club or however you choose to deem it.
Okay.
I have a question. So that means that we can't have our monthly meetings there?
No, ma'am.
We can't have a meeting?
No, ma'am, you may not.
But we're not raising any funds.
I understand that, but it is a use. You cannot do something that is outside of the use without the permit. You do not have the permit.
I'm not understanding that.
Okay. All right. Well, this is a process. It's legal. It's what the county has set up. It's ordinance driven. Certainly, I think this is something that you probably would want to take the next step. This is
Sure.
This is not the place to have that discussion. Board, I would ask, what is your decision? What is your pleasure in regards to the request of being mislabeled? Is there a motion to move forward with this in granting or not granting a relabeling as directed by the county manager?
Mr. Chairman, I want to make a motion with a little caveat prior, if I may. What we're really doing is, on our agenda, we agreed to address the situation, which is what we've done, and we've allowed Ms. Jenkins to be heard. So really, I think all that we can do is agree that we've addressed, each individual has addressed the situation as promised, and that we move to close the matter, because we've also stated for Ms. Jenkins that there are recourses, and the caveat that I want to add is that really our hands are tied. I'm looking at this piece of paper, Ms. Jenkins, that says our hands are tied.
Yes, I've read the ordinance several
Okay,
times,
as a board, okay.
75 pages.
All right,
I've
and
read it.
I understand your
Yes.
concern. I really do. And I want to, just before I make my motion, I want to applaud you for taking care of the property, as Mr. Jernigan stated, and I want to applaud you in your efforts to help underprivileged and doing charitable causes. I applaud you for that. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we close this matter.
Without?
Well, we've addressed it as we agreed to. I don't think we really have a decision. I just move that we close the matter unless if it's brought back further by you folks. Of course, it'll be brought to a different board, not to us. So I move that we close the matter.
Second. All right, there's a motion.
May I have to ask you a
Yes.
question? Do we have to take any action?
We don't have to take any action. We've addressed the issue, but in order for us to make a decision by Board of Commissioners, it's done by vote, not by consensus. And if we held a discussion of consensus, that would not be a resolution to it. So we have a motion and a second on the floor that the matter be closed. And I might add, without any further decision. All in favor, aye? Aye. All opposed, nay. All right.
All right. Thank you all.
All right, thank you. All right, this completes the regular session of our County Commissioners meeting for February 6th.
Public comment.
And we do have citizens' comments. All right. Do we have any further citizens' comments? Okay, Mr. J.E. Harrell.
Last time I approached, I said good morning. I'll say now good afternoon. I'll make it quick. Commissioners, County Manager Mendenhall, fellow citizens of Gates County, I wouldn't be worth my salt if I didn't come forward and thank you for granting my request today. And just on a personal note, stepping back in time, and not a dig at Board of Commissioners years past, not a dig at them at all. I'm just going to state that my personal belief, that the planning department that we currently have and the planning board and the county commissioners that we currently have, if you'd been in place in 2007, March of 2007, I do not believe that we'd be facing the rezoning request that we are today, because I just don't think it would have been approached in the fashion it was. It's just a little vote of confidence. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny. All right. Next item is our commissioners' comments. We'll start from the end this time.
Well, once again, it's nice to see so many people here today. I urge you to return. The more people that hear what's going on in the county, the better informed our citizenry is. That is all very important to all of us. Let us know your concerns, and we'll try to do what we can. Thank you once again for coming.
All right.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming today. I love to see a good turnout, especially from my area. Johnny has mentioned that several times when he sees people from your area, and I want to say thank you for coming today from the Rendelson area. It shows great support for our community. Also, I'd like to say I'm on the board for Albemarle Regional Health. We got our audit report the other day. There is a copy in the office, in the county manager's office. It was a very good report. They didn't find any kind of findings that they had to write us up for, and they handled a lot of money across this area for the Albemarle Health Services. And if you need them, don't hesitate to call them, because they have many, many programs out there that might be a benefit to you. Our Gates Partners for Health, Mrs. Lassiter there, she does a great job for Gates Partners for Health. She can help you also. I know, and I'm in the same category, we're getting older. I'm glad of that. I'm glad of that. But there is many programs out there that can probably help you if you feel like you need some help in your health programs. The Gates Partners for Health, Ms. Lassiter does all kinds of things here in the county, and you heard her talking about the heart, the diabetes, and many, many different programs, just getting out, walking for your health. I was reading a little bit on one of her papers, and she didn't mention it, that they had some of these programs where they get out and walk. They'd walk 13,000 miles, people from the county, and that's good for your health. I need to get out there and do it myself. But thank you for coming.
All right.
Glad to see everyone. And as Kenny just said, it's good to see some Gates folks here. It is important that you come out, and it does a lot of good for you to hear. It does a lot of good for me to see. When people take interest in what's going on in their communities and around their neighborhood. We're facing some big challenges in our country and in our state. The other day, and when I at the Mill Pond, Senator Bill Cook was out there and made a couple of statements on things that were happening in Raleigh. And one of them is, and well, I don't know whether I ought to say it on the microphone, but anyhow, I'll do it anyhow. In the proposal that is being looked at in the government of NC is the personal income tax, abolishing of the personal income tax and going to a consumption tax, which is really the sales tax. Well, and I pointed out to him, really here in Gates County, that becomes beneficial to us people here in Gates County. Why is that? Where do y'all spend your money? Most of you spend it in Virginia. Lower sales tax it is now, even today. So if your income tax goes away and you're buying your products from Virginia, we here in northeastern North Carolina are going to benefit to a certain extent. I don't know how that all balances out in the scheme of the matrix and everything, but I do know that. Then, of course, I heard this morning that Governor McDonald's proposal, transportation proposal in the state of Virginia didn't pass. So he was going to abolish the gas tax and and raise the sales tax down. So your sales tax would have went up about 1%, but your gas tax goes down. So we would have benefited again. So, I mean, you had to be open-minded about these processes, and I'm very intrigued by that and seeing that, hey, when you have things that don't work, you have to come up with other ideas and try to do that. And I'm glad to see that we have that kind of openness. But here in Gates County, and we got a long, tough road to go. I think we got some things in place, and I'm feel very positive that we're going to be able to turn around some things. I think it's going to take some little initiative, and I thank John for that. With some of the things, I think that we might be able to do that. But it's a tough economy. Until this economy turns around, we're going to have a very hard road. But just keep the faith, and as I said, I want to hear what you have to say, and I'm conscious of that. And we're going to go, but we're going to go together. Thank you.
Well, again, thank you for your presence and participation. We look forward to hearing your comments about the county and processes and progress that we're making. And I just want to thank my fellow board members and county manager and his assistant up there for keeping us well informed. And I feel like we've got a great chemistry up here. We look forward to a lot of good things.
All right, thank you, Jack. Thank you, board. I'm just going to say ditto, if you will. Truly, I do thank everyone for coming, and I want to thank you all for the respect that is given during these proceedings. These are legal proceedings, and we have the privilege to be a part of them as citizens, and that's very important because we need your help. We need your support. There's a lot of things going on, as it's been mentioned, and when we make decisions, a lot of times, if we don't know what the citizens are thinking, then we may think we're making good decisions, but you know, in reality, it may not be what the citizens really is in favor of. So continue to support us by contacting us, showing up, and just doing what you normally do. Thank you all for coming. Have a great day. All right. We're going to have closed session, so we'll have a motion to enter closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
I make a motion that we enter closed session as authorized by NCGS 143-318-11A4.
All right.
Second.
Motion second, that we go into closed session. All in favor? Aye. Aye. All opposed? Nay. All right. Thank you. I have a motion from the board to authorize the county manager to move forward in discussions and possible negotiations on the issues discussed in closed session.
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been motioned second that we authorize the county manager to move forward on those closed session issues. All in favor, aye? Aye. All opposed, nay. All right, you got your charge. There are no other discussions. We entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, moving second, we adjourn. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Thank you so much.